All right. A white chicken owned the first warm-blooded life I ever took. It was fall time. The air was cold, but the chicken's head was hot in the palm of my left hand, where it hung down from the killing cone. I remember it vividly, but there are so many that I've forgotten. Domestic chickens under the knife, spruce chickens dead in the crack of a .22, snowshoe hares that I found frozen in my sets on winter morning walks to school, 1,000 unremembered fish. I've butchered probably a dozen caribou, warmed my knife hand in their body cavities on sub-zero winter nights. I've held heart after hot heart in my hands. It takes a moment of cast iron cold-heartedness to cut a throat or to squeeze a trigger, a moment of slamming the door on empathy. Still, I've never felt guilty with blood on my hands. Out in the open, with the wind chapping my face, I've felt sorrow, but never real remorse. At first, the herd in the river appeared as a movement out of place, a hazy model ship regatta sailing across the current in the dusk. As we came closer in my boat, the scene came into focus. Sure enough, as if they had nowhere else to be, a herd of caribou was crossing at the point. They shook like dogs when they hit the sand of the beach, water droplets clouding around their silhouettes in a blue haze. They kicked up sand as they began to gallop away, and the thunder of their hoofbeats accelerated with the beat of my heart. The final few pairs of antlers rose up from the river, streaming blue, and at first it seemed they would all vanish into the dusk. But just as the last male extended his body for the gallop, reaching his long neck up the shore, the rifle cracked. He fell to his knees and then to his side. My friend had shot him cleanly through the head. Something in me lurched and constricted, and my eyes fixed on that soft mass of shadow where the animal lay warm on the shore. But there was no time for grief. The sun was setting. We had work to do, and regret would only cheapen the life of this animal. The last of the daylight pooled in a blue sheen where the weight of the caribou's body compressed the sand at the water's edge. My friend and I dragged him up the shore to a drier spot. I laid out the tarp, and he began cutting by the light of his headlamp. We made short work of it together, peeling back the hide, gutting, quartering. I took the liver and rinsed it in the flowing black water, plucked the heart from the lungs and marveled at its weight. I carried an impossibly heavy hindquarter over my shoulder to the boat and came back for the other in the full dark. At last there was nothing left on the shore but the head crowned with those magnificent antlers. I helped my friend lift it to his shoulders so that the face tilted skyward and the antlers curved out from his body like wings. By the time he made it back to the boat, blood was sheeting down the back of his raincoat. It was horror and beauty and something primal and essential. We had left nothing on that beach but a pool of blood and entrails surrounded by fresh hoof and boot prints. Soon enough, the foxes and the rain would come and scour every trace of our having been there from that sandbar. They'd leave it clean. I don't love hunting, but I'm fiercely grateful for it. To take a life, especially one streaming clean river water, takes a moment of soul-deep cold or a habit of indifference. It's convenient for us to think little of the lives of animals so that we can think nothing of their deaths. But I've seen the lives of animals. I've seen joy and patience in dogs. I've watched a pig grieve. A friend once told me about watching a clumsy young Kodiak brown bear throw a tantrum in the middle of a creek because he couldn't catch himself a fish. Denying the validity of those experiences in animals is selfish. But how else can I justify the taking of a life like that, the life of something that feels love and loss? Maybe some of my humanity has gone. Maybe that's the thing that I had to suppress in order to open that first white feathered throat to the sky. I stood knee-deep in the snow one winter, listening to a man murmuring soft and low to a mother caribou who refused to leave the kill site where her yearling calf lay dead. "Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry," he repeated at a whisper, not knowing that I could hear. Sound travels a long way over a tundra in the wintertime. I can't feel anything for a steak on a styrofoam tray, but for a magnificent bull taken in a moment of reckless beauty, or a cow who refuses to leave her dead baby, I feel gratitude and honest grief. If some of my humanity has gone, I don't mind, as long as it's been replaced by something animal and true, something that brings me closer to being human in the way that foxes and rain are foxes and rain. Another winter, alone on a snow-washed mountain after a long hunt and an hour's hard butchery work. I had caribou blood freezing red as barn paint to the legs of my snow pants. I cut the hide away from the neck, and I couldn't warm my hands in the body because it had already lost most of its heat, so I tucked my hands into the front of my coat to warm them. Pressed flat against my ribs, they drew heat directly from my core. It was all right. I was tired and I was cold, but there wasn't much left to do. I could afford to draw down the last of my reserves to keep my hands functioning properly for a few minutes more. While I waited for them to warm up, I took in the scene. The delphinium blue sky, the endless white mountains tumbling away to the south, the pile of silver hide, the masses of crimson and burgundy meat, streaked with gleaming rainbows of tendon and flecked with creamy pink fat, an offering from the mountain. My eyes snagged on the bright meat of the neck, lying red on the clean white snow. Instantly, my mouth watered. It was primal and startling. I'll never forget that. I wanted to taste it. For a few minutes, I fought it, repulsed by this animal thing rising in me. I tried to busy myself with work, but my eyes kept being drawn back to that meat, and my mouth kept watering. I was cold. I was tired. I was too weak to resist something that elemental, so I gave in. I cut a paper-thin slice of meat from that neck and brought it through the crackling cold air to my lips. By the time I put it in my mouth, it was half frozen, so that it melted on my tongue like a communion wafer. Thank you.